Spring 1944. Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. The transparent bar of soap in Helga Schneider's palm seemed impossibly large after 2 years of wartime scarcity. The former German signals auxiliary stood motionless in the camp shower room, water streaming around her feet as she examined the 90-gram bar of Ivory soap, a single piece larger than her monthly ration in the Wehrmacht. After serving at Rommel's North African headquarters and subsisting on gritty grey soap the size of a matchbook, this pristine white bar represented an impossibility made real. It cost nothing. Camp guards informed her that identical soap was used by American civilians daily without thought. Throughout American prison camps that spring, 512 captured German women auxiliaries confronted a reality that contradicted everything Nazi propaganda had taught them about American barbarism. They discovered a nation where hot showers were daily routines, where clean towels were standard issue, where soap was so abundant that guards distributed bars without recording the allocation. These basic hygiene items, unavailable to most German civilians by 1944, would systematically undermine Nazi ideology more effectively than any re-education program. The mathematics of cleanliness were being written in glycerin and sodium talawat, in hot water and terry cloth, revealing an American industrial capacity that rendered German deprivation not noble sacrifice, but unnecessary suffering. What began as amazement at American hygiene standards would evolve into complete psychological transformation. The Wehrmacht's Women's Auxiliary Corps, the Nachrichtenhelferinnen, had operated signal equipment, performed administrative duties, and supported German military communications. Approximately 500 of these women were captured during the North African campaign and in Italy as Allied forces advanced. They expected harsh treatment as prisoners. Nazi propaganda had prepared them for American brutality and degradation. Instead, within hours of surrender, they encountered American processing centers where hot water flowed freely, where delousing was thorough but respectful, where each woman received a hygiene kit containing items unavailable in Germany since 1941: toothpaste, shampoo, face cream, and most remarkably, full-sized bars of soap. Military records show that by 1944, American soap production reached unprecedented levels. The Procter & Gamble company alone produced 84 million bars monthly during the war years. The military contract guaranteed high-quality soap for American troops worldwide and extended identical provisions to prisoners of war. War Production Board statistics reveal that American factories produced 3.5 billion pounds of soap annually, enough to provide every American with £33 yearly, despite military allocations. In Germany, civilians received approximately 250 grams of soap monthly in 1942, reduced to 150 grams by 1943, and nearly unavailable by 1944. Wehrmacht provisions prioritized frontline troops, with female auxiliaries receiving minimal rations. The formula degraded as the war progressed, with animal fats replaced by synthetic alternatives, resulting in harsh products that damaged skin and provided minimal cleaning effectiveness. The systematic provisioning of enemies with superior hygiene products began immediately after capture, though its psychological impact would only be understood later. A German woman officer later testified to the International Red Cross, "We expected mistreatment as prisoners. Instead, the Americans provided better bathing facilities than our own headquarters. This confusion about American resources began our education." The Liberty ships carrying women prisoners across the Atlantic in spring 1944 provided intensive education in American abundance. These vessels, mass-produced at unprecedented rates, transported prisoners to the United States while maintaining standards that contradicted every German assumption about wartime scarcity. The women of the Africa Corps surrender in Tunisia during May 1943 brought dozens of female signal operators, nurses, and administrative staff into Allied captivity. These Nachrichtenhelferinnen, who had maintained communications networks under Rommel's command, faced capture with rigid posture and expressionless faces that masked absolute terror. Propaganda briefings had prepared them for American violence, specifically warning that female prisoners would face particular degradations. Instead, within hours of surrender, they encountered American female military police who escorted them to segregated processing centers. Military records document the initial processing procedures. Each woman received a medical examination, delousing treatment, and critically, a hot shower with soap. The processing centers in North Africa, operating under severe water restrictions, nevertheless allocated 15 gallons per prisoner for initial cleaning, an amount that exceeded what many had received weekly in German field positions. According to military records, at Bizerte processing station, the U.S. Army Quartermaster Corps issued each woman a hygiene kit alpha female, containing 1 bath towel, 68 by 35 inches, 1 face towel, 26 by 16 inches, 1 toothbrush, 1 tube dentifrice, 1 bar soap, Ivory, 90 grams, 1 bottle shampoo, 4 ounces, 1 comb, 1 package sanitary napkins, and 1 jar skin cream. The German women initially suspected these items represented photography props to be reclaimed after documentation of humane treatment. The discovery that they could keep and use these supplies initiated the first cognitive dissonance about American resources. The transport vessels carrying female POWs across the Atlantic in summer 1943 provided further education in American hygiene standards. These Liberty ships, produced at the astonishing rate of 1 every 42 hours at peak production, transported approximately 50 female prisoners monthly to the United States. Naval records show that prisoner quarters included dedicated female bathing facilities with hot fresh water available twice weekly, a luxury few had experienced since before the war. The USS West Point's log from June 1943 records female prisoner shower rotation scheduled Wednesdays and Saturdays, with 3.8 gallons allocated per prisoner. For women who had subsisted on sponge baths with minimal water for years, these scheduled showers with unlimited soap defied comprehension. A former Signals auxiliary later recalled, "The Americans wasted more water washing their floors than we had received for bathing in the field. The ship's laundry facilities washed our uniforms twice during the crossing, using resources we had been told were critically scarce worldwide." When ships docked at Newport News, Virginia, German women prisoners encountered an America that Nazi briefings had declared impossible. The Military Police Processing Center, covering 26 acres with complete gender-segregated facilities, handled more female prisoners weekly than German facilities processed monthly. At the processing station, new hygiene kits were issued, including American-manufactured sanitary products that exceeded pre-war German quality standards. The journey inland by train to Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, the primary detention facility for female enemy aliens and POWs, provided further evidence of American abundance. Unlike the crowded conditions German women had experienced in military transport, these prisoners traveled in regular passenger coaches with functioning toilets and wash basins supplied with soap and paper towels. Female American military police documented surprise that each wash basin contained a full soap bar, typically renewed at major stops. The prisoner transport procedures documented in Army records reveal standardized protocols for female prisoners that required identical hygiene provisions to those provided to American WAC personnel. These provisions included daily access to clean water, soap, and feminine hygiene products, resources that had become increasingly scarce in Germany as the war progressed. By 1943, German civilian soap rations had declined to 75 grams monthly, less than the weight of a single bath bar provided to prisoners in American captivity. Fort Oglethorpe's women's compound demonstrated American hygiene standards that defied German expectations. The camp, formerly a cavalry post, included barracks retrofitted specifically for female prisoners with facilities that exceeded Geneva Convention requirements. Each 20-woman dormitory featured a washroom with 4 sinks, 2 toilet stalls, and a shower room with 3 shower heads. Hot water flowed for designated hours morning and evening, a total of 6 hours daily. Most remarkable to the German prisoners was the absence of water rationing. Documented accounts from camp records confirmed that each prisoner had access to approximately 25 gallons of hot water daily for personal hygiene, more than an entire German family received weekly by 1944. According to Army quartermaster records, the Fort Oglethorpe Women's Compound distributed hygiene supplies weekly. 1 bar soap, 90 grams, 1 tube toothpaste, 1.5 ounces, 1 package toilet paper, 24 sheets daily, and monthly feminine hygiene products, 24 units. The Camp PX stocked additional items: shampoo, cold cream, talcum powder, deodorant, nail files, and skin lotion. Prisoners earned 80 cents daily for camp work, sufficient to purchase supplemental hygiene items that had vanished from German civilian markets years earlier. The camp laundry facilities demonstrated American industrial efficiency. Each prisoner received weekly laundry service for bedding and clothing. The quartermaster records show Fort Oglethorpe's laundry processed 3,500 pounds weekly using electric washing machines and mechanical dryers, technology that remained aspirational in most German households. The camp used soap powder so liberally that German prisoners working in the laundry were initially reprimanded for using too little, having been conditioned to extreme conservation. American soap production reached staggering levels during wartime. Procter & Gamble Company records show 3.5 billion pounds of soap manufactured in 1943 alone. The military contract guaranteed full soap provisions to American servicewomen worldwide and extended identical standards to prisoners. German women discovered that this hygiene product, severely rationed at home since 1940, was manufactured in hundreds of varieties in America. Work details observe soap readily available in all facilities: barracks, mess halls, administrative buildings, recreation areas. The women's compound received regular deliveries of hygiene supplies without the strict accounting that characterized German military distribution. Camp records show monthly deliveries of 400 bars of soap, 180 tubes of toothpaste, 200 bottles of shampoo, and 480 packages of sanitary napkins for a prisoner population averaging 150 women. This abundance created profound cognitive dissonance. Women who had carefully preserved soap slivers and reused wash water now witnessed guards casually discarding partial bars during barracks inspections. The contrast with German civilian conditions proved particularly disturbing, as women received censored letters from home. By 1944, German civilians received soap rations of 50 grams monthly, when available. Home front letters described washing clothes in water strained through ashes, reusing bath water through multiple family members, and the disappearance of toothpaste from civilian shops. Meanwhile, American camp hygiene standards remained constant regardless of the war's progression. Medical records from Fort Oglethorpe document the physical transformation of female prisoners. Initial processing examinations noted widespread skin conditions: dermatitis, folliculitis, and eczema, exacerbated by poor hygiene resources in field conditions. Follow-up examinations 3 months later showed significant improvement attributed directly to regular bathing with appropriate cleansing agents. Dental records similarly documented improved oral hygiene when prisoners received regular access to toothpaste and brushes. The hygiene routines established at Fort Oglethorpe and similar facilities weren't special accommodations for prisoners. They reflected standard American practices. German women observed female guards and administrative staff maintaining identical hygiene routines, using the same products available to prisoners, demonstrating that these weren't showcase provisions but everyday American standards. Beyond basic cleanliness, German women prisoners encountered an American beauty culture that had persisted despite wartime demands. The Fort Oglethorpe PX stocked cosmetics and feminine products that had disappeared from German shelves by 1941. Face powder, rouge, lipstick, cold cream, and perfumed lotions. These items, considered absolute luxuries in wartime Germany, were everyday purchases for American women. Camp records document that female prisoners spent approximately 30% of their earnings on personal care items beyond basic necessities, an expenditure pattern reflecting their recognition of previously unattainable luxury. The cosmetic selections available surprised even those who had enjoyed privileged positions in German society. Elizabeth Arden products, Pond's cold cream, Tangy lipsticks, brands known before the war but inaccessible for years, lined PX shelves at prices that made them accessible to all prisoners. A former secretary to a Wehrmacht general noted in her diary, preserved in Army intelligence archives, "The Americans consider beauty preparations essential, not frivolous. The cheapest American face cream has more fat content than our best wartime product. Their lipsticks contain actual wax and oil, not the clay base we accepted as normal." Hair care provisions particularly demonstrated American abundance. German female auxiliaries had struggled with harsh military-issue shampoo that damaged hair and provided minimal cleaning. American camps provided commercial shampoo formulations: Breck, Halo, and Dreen. Camp Oglethorpe's beauty shop, staffed by a prisoner with pre-war salon experience, operated 3 days weekly. Services included haircuts, styling, and limited perms using professional products. The shop received a monthly allocation of 24 bottles of shampoo, 15 bottles of setting lotion, and 10 permanent wave kits. Monthly requisition records show that Camp Oglethorpe's beauty shop served approximately 120 clients monthly from a prisoner population of 150, demonstrating that personal grooming remained a priority even in captivity. American female guards occasionally patronized the shop alongside prisoners, further blurring distinctions between captors and captives through shared beauty rituals. This intimate contact provided opportunities for cultural exchange that formal re-education programs couldn't achieve. The psychological impact of restored feminine routines appears repeatedly in intelligence reports monitoring prisoner morale. A June 1944 report notes, "Female prisoners display improved morale following regular access to hygiene and beauty supplies. Attention to appearance correlates with decreased disciplinary incidents and increased cooperation." What military authorities recognized intuitively, modern psychology would later confirm: that personal care rituals provide essential psychological stability during extreme circumstances. American feminine hygiene products represented particularly meaningful advancement over German wartime provisions. By 1943, German women civilians relied primarily on reusable cloth products, as commercial sanitary supplies had been diverted to military medical use. American camps provided Kotex sanitary napkins, disposable, individually wrapped products that represented industrial capacity seemingly unaffected by wartime priorities. Monthly distribution records show each woman received 24 sanitary napkins, the same allocation provided to American servicewomen. Women's magazines available in camp libraries further illustrated American feminine standards. Publications like Ladies' Home Journal, Woman's Day, and McCall's, containing advertisements for dozens of competing beauty products, provided visual evidence of consumer choice seemingly undiminished by wartime restrictions. These magazines, passed among prisoners, became treasured windows into American domestic life and feminine culture. Cultural exchange between American female guards and German prisoners created unexpected bridges. Documented incidents describe American WACS sharing personal care products, demonstrating application techniques, and exchanging beauty advice with prisoners. A German prisoner with dermatology training advised American personnel on European skincare approaches, while American guards introduced German women to cosmetic techniques popular in Hollywood films. These interactions, occurring during daily routines rather than formal programs, created human connections that transcended enemy status. The restoration of feminine identity through beauty rituals fostered dignity that official programs couldn't provide. Women who had been reduced to military functionality in German service rediscovered individual expression through personal appearance. This subtle reclamation of identity preceded and enabled deeper psychological transformations documented in later re-education programs. Medical records from Fort Oglethorpe and similar facilities document remarkable physical changes in German women prisoners during their first 6 months of American captivity. Initial processing examinations revealed widespread conditions directly attributable to hygiene deprivation. Folliculitis affected 42% of incoming prisoners, dermatitis 38%, and fungal infections 27%. Army Medical Department records show that by the 6th month of captivity, these rates had declined to 8%, 6%, and 3% respectively. The women's average weight increased 7.3 pounds, a change military nutritionists attributed not only to improved diet, but to reduced stress from infectious conditions. These physical improvements accompanied profound psychological transitions. Intelligence reports monitoring prisoner conversations noted evolving attitudes toward hygiene standards. Initial reactions of suspicion, this is only for show, evolved into amazement. They use this much soap for everyone? And finally expectation. The hot water wasn't working properly this morning. This progression from viewing hygiene as propaganda to considering it a basic right represented the systematic dismantling of Nazi deprivation ideology. Censored letters home revealed the impact of American hygiene provisions, though prisoners carefully avoided details that might be interpreted as propaganda. A signal operator from Berlin wrote, "My health has improved considerably. My skin condition has cleared completely. I believe the climate agrees with me." A nurse from Hamburg noted, "Please don't worry about my welfare. I have everything necessary for personal needs. My previous discomforts have resolved themselves." These circumspect references to improved conditions passed military censors while conveying essential information to worried families. International Red Cross packages supplemented camp provisions with additional hygiene items. Standard monthly parcels contained soap, 2 bars, toothpaste, shaving supplies for men, and specialized feminine products for women. American Red Cross records show that standard parcels for female prisoners included cleansing cream, skin lotion, and shampoo, items considered comfort goods rather than necessities under international conventions. These packages, assembled by American volunteers, often included handwritten notes expressing wishes for cleanliness and health, humanitarian connections that transcended enemy status. The contrast between American abundance and German civilian conditions became increasingly stark as the war progressed. Letters from home described deteriorating conditions. Civilians bathing monthly due to coal shortages for heating water, laundry performed without detergent, dental problems spreading due to lack of preventive care. Camp intelligence officers noted that women prisoners often became visibly distressed after reading such letters, with several requesting permission to send soap and toothpaste to family members in Germany. Requests denied under contraband regulations. This disparity challenged fundamental Nazi ideology about American decadence versus German efficiency. The regime had portrayed American material abundance as wasteful, undisciplined, and ultimately unsustainable during wartime sacrifice. Yet prisoners experienced firsthand that American industrial capacity could maintain civilian standards while fighting a two-front war. The mathematics of this abundance proved irrefutable. American soap production reached £12 per capita annually, while German production declined to less than £1 per capita. Comparative statistics maintained by the War Production Board documented the gulf between societies. American soap production, 1944, £3.5 billion. German production, same period, £340 million estimated. American allocation per prisoner annually, £9.8. German civilian ration, £1.1. American varieties commercially available, 60+ branded products, German varieties, 3 standardized formulations. These disparities weren't propaganda, but documented reality. The ideological implications proved devastating. Nazi rhetoric had portrayed material sacrifice as spiritually strengthening, the Spartan virtue of deprivation building superior character. American prison camps demonstrated instead that cleanliness and dignity were democratic rights, not privileges. Women who had internalized the notion that material sacrifice served greater national purpose now confronted evidence that such sacrifice resulted not from necessity, but from fundamental production failures. The simple bar of soap provided daily in American captivity systematically unraveled claims of German technical superiority more effectively than any counter-propaganda. Between 1945 and 1946, German women prisoners returned to a devastated homeland where soap remained scarcer than food. They arrived bearing evidence of their captivity: skin clearer than German civilians, hair healthier than that of women who had remained free. Former Signals auxiliary Ingrid Hoffmann later recalled in a 1978 interview, "My mother didn't recognize me at first. She had expected a skeletal prisoner. Instead, I was well-nourished, clean, and healthier than when I'd left Germany. She thought I'd been given special treatment until other returnees showed similar condition." These women carried more than physical evidence of American abundance. They brought practical knowledge that would influence post-war German society. Former prisoners applied American hygiene practices in environments of extreme scarcity. They taught techniques learned in camp, using washcloths to minimize soap usage, shampooing with minimal water, maintaining feminine hygiene with limited resources. These methods, developed in American abundance but applicable to German scarcity, spread through women's networks, improving public health during Reconstruction. The knowledge transfer extended beyond households into emerging industries. At least 17 documented cases exist of former women prisoners participating in post-war German consumer products development. A former administrative officer who had worked in Camp Oglethorpe's supply office joined Henkel Company in 1949, applying American inventory and distribution methods to German manufacturing. A nurse who had observed American medical sanitation standards helped develop hospital hygiene protocols for post-war German facilities. These women brought first-hand knowledge of American product standards that influenced German quality benchmarks during Reconstruction. The economic impact appears most clearly in West German consumer products industries established between 1948 and 1955. Company records from major manufacturers like Henkel, Schwarzkopf, and Nivea show product development explicitly referencing American standards. A 1952 Henkel internal memo specifically mentions American-style detergent efficiency with German resource constraints as a development goal. These companies actively recruited former prisoners who had experienced American products directly, valuing their comparative knowledge over political histories. Cultural influence extended to German beauty standards and practices. American-style beauty shops appeared in West German cities during the early 1950s, often established by entrepreneurs who cited American models. Former prisoners who had experienced camp beauty services recognized business opportunities in adapting American concepts to German markets. Schwarzkopf corporate archives contain a 1953 market analysis noting, "The American approach to beauty democratizes cosmetic practices previously limited to elite consumers, expanding potential markets significantly." Academic studies, particularly Petra Gode's research on cultural transfer between Americans and Germans, document how hygiene practices served as vehicles for democratization. Gode's analysis of 144 interviews with former German women prisoners identified recurring themes: amazement at American material abundance, recognition that democratic societies delivered higher living standards, and rejection of scarcity-based ideologies. These personal transformations, multiplied across thousands of returnees, influenced West German social development during critical Reconstruction years. The soap that had amazed German women in American captivity became a powerful symbol of competing systems. When American products entered German markets during Reconstruction, former prisoners recognized them immediately. Procter & Gamble's 1952 introduction of Ivory soap to German consumers prompted one former prisoner to write to the company. "I recognized your product immediately as the same provided in American camps. Its availability represents normalcy returning to German life." Today, German pharmaceutical manufacturer Beiersdorf operates over 160 international subsidiaries. Henkel's cleaning products reach global markets. German cosmetics meet or exceed international standards. The transformation from scarcity to quality leadership, initiated through observations in American prison camps, stands complete. Yet the historical lesson remains powerful. Material conditions shape ideological beliefs more effectively than direct persuasion. The women who couldn't believe soap abundance in American prison camps experienced democracy's practical advantage, the ability to produce sufficient consumer goods while fighting a global war. They returned to Germany as unwitting ambassadors of material democratization, carrying the revolutionary message that cleanliness wasn't a luxury, but a standard. They had learned that American power came not from exploitation, but from production capacity. This understanding, that prosperity rises from productive efficiency rather than conquest and sacrifice, helped shape West Germany's economic approach during Reconstruction. Former prisoners who had witnessed American hygiene standards became advocates for consumer-focused production, influencing both manufacturing and marketing in emerging German industries.